Hey guys, welcome back to the Maple Leaf Barn. I'm Drew, and today we're going to talk about our raised beds. We're going to go over how we made them, what we made them with, and why we chose this design, and a few other things along the way. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. In total, we're making roughly 350 square feet of raised bed space. These beds are all 14.5 inches tall and made with two 2x8s stacked on top of each other. We lucked out and found some 14-foot 2x8s at one Lowe's in our area for about $13 each. To put that into perspective, later in the project we ran out of wood and had to go buy some more 10-footers. They cost $16.30. That was $3 more for 40% less material. All said and done, we used about 540 linear feet of 2x8s and 7 8-foot 4x4s for the corner supports. Just for this project, in wood and screws alone, we spent $740 thanks to high lumber costs, even though we got that good deal on these odd linked boards. We ended up going with Southern Yellow Pine for this project for cost reasons. We expect it to last between 3 and 5 years if we're lucky. We could have spent 2 or 3 times as much on pressure-treated wood or even gone with cedar for an arm and a leg, but we just couldn't justify those given our plans. If cedar or redwood doesn't fit your budget, you could consider pressure-treated for its longevity, but without getting into the pressure-treated lumber debate, I've read a lot about how it's not as much of a concern as it used to be specifically for edible plants. I'll link some resources below on this topic if you're interested. Our plans for these beds have been adapted many times over the winter when we were designing them. We started with this terraced hillside design that quickly got dropped due to timing and cost concerns. And then we transitioned to the 2 large beds, and after laying them out in our yard, we decided against them just due to how varied the ground was. And then we fell on this. Many small to medium-sized boxes that we can easily break up into manageable sections using like a square foot gardening method that nicely fit on our yard that we can kind of build into the landscape to kind of follow the curves of the top of our hill. Even with all these beds, we felt like we didn't have enough space, so we're going to put a nice 30-foot bed at the bottom of the hill for some of our extra sunflowers, dahlias, and stuff like that. So here's a nice view of all of our beds laid out. We've got 2 of the L's, 2 of the U's, and a few of the 4x4 boxes. This should give us plenty of room to kind of break up our garden, but also follow the scape of the hill. These 4x4 boxes are going to be for some of our larger plants. We're going to put some raised space and trellising systems in these. They each give us about 16 square foot. Then we've got 2 L-shaped boxes that are both 16 feet long and kind of 12 feet wide. They'll have a lot of our vegetables and flowers in them. This is the majority of our growing space. And then we've got those 2 U's at the bottom that we can put in the corner of our yard that's just kind of in an awkward spot. All said and done, that's just under 350 square feet. You can pause here and kind of see how we've got it lined up. Once we got all the lumber home, we started cutting it down to size. We broke up the 4x4 into these 12-inch sections, and we drilled 3 screws into every board through into the 4x4. This will give us enough strength and kind of bolster the corners so this all stays together. These 4x4s stay right under the top of the soil, so once the beds are full, we won't be able to see them. All in all, we've got 2 2x8 stacked on top of each other everywhere that give us a 14.5-inch bed. As you can see, our backyard is pretty rough. We've got a very steep hill that takes up a large portion of our backyard, and a lot of these beds kind of have to be propped up on the backside and dug in on the front. So we used some pavers on the backside, made a little retaining wall on one end, and then we actually dug these boards almost 7 inches into the ground near the top. Once the beds were made, we put some cardboard in the bottom, put some of that black silage tarp on the sides to kind of help seepage, make sure not much moisture goes in, but also give the wood some space and not much ground contact. The hardest part for us was definitely making sure it was level. We knew that if we didn't spend the time now to get that right, we would have issues in the future. These could be like runoff or just with irrigation. drainage, stuff like that. I mean, it was not worth skipping some of the harder stuff now for the pain it would have been in the future. All in all, we're happy we spent the extra time here. The beds look pretty good. They're going to last for a long time. Just make sure you reinforce long sections with 4x4s, or even run kind of 2x8s to reinforce any connections. At the end of the day, you're just putting dirt in it, so it's not that big a deal. Just make sure you spend time where you think you need it most. All of our beds are filled with a mixture of aged manure, leaf compost, mushroom compost, and premium topsoil with a little bit of sand in there to help with moisture retention and drainage. It took about 15 yards of soil to fill these and make that 30-foot bed at the bottom of the hill we were talking about earlier. Just make sure when you fill these boxes up, you're using the best stuff you have access to, because your plants will use every bit of it when they start growing and giving you fruits. The best part about making your own beds is you get to choose every single bit of it. You can make it however big or small you want. You can use whatever material you want. You can fill it with whatever you want. Just try and keep some of these things in mind when you start building your beds. Thanks for watching. See you next time.